was your team's mental affected after that? Because it seemed, not to be rude, but I think the defeats kept coming quicker and quicker after that first game loss.
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure, I think the mental was not 100%. I think it's also, I think as long as we come back, I don't mind. And people like react differently to losses, right? I'd rather laugh it off rather than being depressed. And some people rather be depressed than like laughing it off. But for me, I just think we just played against a better team today, and we were just not good enough, and that's how I see it. And we either have to prove of ourselves against G2 and win, and kind of come back and revenge, or if we lose against G2, then that means we didn't necessarily deserve to be here in the first place. So that's my next focus, and I hope the mental is going to be good, and I believe we'll come back here.
I do want to bring this up, but you tweeted yesterday that what you're going to do to Faker isn't going to be funny. Is that for the finals when you reface him, or is that just give him a bit of false hope?
I mean, it's kind of for fun because, I don't know, these days people don't necessarily shit talk or like DM or whatever, and I think it's just kind of fun. It would be boring if I say, oh, I'm playing Faker tomorrow, like I'm so excited to play like my first time, blah blah blah, because I think that should be obvious to people. And for me, I think, yeah, I like to do it like that, and I like to act cocky. And usually when I act cocky, I kind of get smacked, so maybe I should stop that. But yeah, it's just a bit of fun.
I don't know if you remember, but I think Jensen tweeted something in 2016, and he went like 0-4 on Cassiopeia in like 10 minutes. I was really worried when I saw your tweet the same thing was going to happen. But on a more serious note, I think a lot of people like to have that image that Faker just isn't as good as he was, and he's a bit washed up. But obviously today, even on tags, he proved he's still, and especially as Ari, is an insane player. So I think this was your first time against him on an international stage, but you're at the same Worlds as him in 2019, so I assume you scrimmed him then. So do you notice any differences from the Faker from the past SKT to now?
I think the Faker of now plays more for the team than for himself, I would say. I think the way he plays the map in general is very, that he would sacrifice himself for his teammates, and I think before he could kind of do both, and he was really good at both, but I think now he's more on that playstyle, which is also the meta, I guess. So, but I think before he would be way more aggressive and stuff, but now I think he's more playing for the team, pushing and roaming. Whereas, for example, Chovy would just try to destroy you in lane. I think Faker kind of plays for the map, yeah.
And going back to last year's Worlds, I think your team unfortunately received a lot of criticism because you didn't win any best of fives to get there. And I think going into the playoffs in the LEC, I was a bit worried for you guys because if you lost to G2 and they won, you were going to be in the same position again. So, as a team, how important is it for you when you come into MSI to kind of, did the fans' kind of mentality around that affect you? Did it get to you last Worlds? And how does that compare to MSI when you're now representing the LEC as the first seed?
I mean, usually I don't really give a fuck about what people say, to be fair, because, I mean, it's just an open space, anyone can write anything, right? And at the end, if we're at MSI, that means that we deserved it. And it was the same at Worlds last year, like, we made it. Like, there's nothing to do about it, you know, we just made it, so we deserve it, with the way the point system worked and all that. But I think for sure for MSI, we actually wanted to be the team that deserved to go, rather than losing to G2 and then they win and then we're like the guys like behind them, right? Which is what we did, and yeah, it's our chance to kinda, I guess, prove ourselves in international tournament. But I think for sure today was not our day. I think they played just way better than us, right? And yeah, I think G2 is also kind of struggling, same as us, so yeah. I guess we're in it together, and we'll see how it goes against G2.
Going back to that format in the LEC, do you like that format, that can happen, that someone can make it without winning a best of five as a player, or do you kind of, would you prefer it that you just, obviously you would like to go to Worlds, but just even as a fan perspective, you would want teams to kind of win more best of fives to get there?
I mean, I would always try to use the logic that, like, if for example there's MSI, I would just send the two best teams that play that split. But the problem with that is that then last split is kind of useless, or like the winter, it would be kind of useless. For example, I think the two that kind of deserve to go to MSI, I would say, is like probably BDSMS, right, on paper, because we're like in the finals. But I can also see G2 that made that one last split, and that they deserve a spot as well. So I'm not necessarily sure how it works, right? I don't know how you can balance that, but I think having 3 splits usually makes things kind of weird, because the first one, if it doesn't mean anything, then it's kind of useless. So yeah, I don't know how they can fix it. I don't necessarily like it the way it is now, but yeah.
And you mentioned you got your game against G2 on Sunday. They seem pretty cocky from, I think, the interviews I was hearing yesterday that they're going to beat you this time, they want revenge. What's your take on that? Because I assume that you have a slightly different opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I know Mickey, I talked to him a lot, and I know they want revenge against us, because I thought their loss was like, I mean, they thought they would win, you know. But I think if we play our game, I believe we'll beat them. I don't think they're necessarily as scary as they would be in the split before, and I think we just have to play our game, you know, and kind of maybe change up maybe our drafts or the way we play. I'm not sure what we're gonna do and how we're gonna prep, but yeah, for sure we want to beat them, and we don't want G2 to beat us because they're second seed or first seed, right? And yeah, I mean, I'm confident in myself. I think I have a good matchup against Caps, and we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
And you're saying you've got a 4-day break now until Sunday. Now with the new format and MSI, you've obviously played a best of 3, and now you go into the losers bracket. You don't have any lifelines left. For you, especially in MSI, because from my perspective, I think it's for something for teams is that you don't have as much time to prepare for games as you do for like an LEC game, just because of all the content and the media thing. So how does that affect you going into that game, and also how does having a best of 5 experience at MSI help you going into that game on Sunday?
I mean, for sure, I think the media stuff and like, don't know, you don't stream like that much, I would say, just because of how the schedule is, right? Which I don't mind, because it's kind of the same for every single team. So at the end, everyone's like even. And I mean, having played the best of 5, it kind of shows you the different metas there is in place. And then I believe right now both us and G2 will just figure out what we want to play next. And that's how it would help, I believe. And yeah, we'll see how it goes Saturday, but I think it's gonna be for sure a close series, and I hope I have a hyped for it.
And is there any specific team you want to face that are left in the competition? And then, in addition to that, who do you think are the strongest team in the competition?
I mean, I would say I kind of just want to face T1 again, to be fair. I think I still feel kind of sour after that game 1. I think maybe if we want it to be different, but I just want to improve now and maybe change how we play the game or whatnot, and then face them again to see how we will do again. And then I think JDG is for sure, I believe, the best team that's in this tournament with Gen G probably. So yeah.
And okay, so finally, something we do on this channel is we get all our interviewees to ask a question for the next interview that we have. And the next interview we're going to have is with Licorice from Golden Guardians, and I know you've played with him on Cloud9 before, so do you have anything you want to ask him?
Ask him who the best mid in Europe is.
Who the best mid in Europe is, okay, I'll ask him that next time. And finally, the question for you, this was from a fan. He asked, why do you think, as a former TCL player, you played in Turkey, haven't you? So as a former TCL player yourself, why do you think Turkey got removed from international events, and do you think that's beneficial for the region?
I mean, it's for sure not beneficial, I would say. I think they had a lot of problems with, I believe, like ecosystem and whatnot. And I mean, to be fair, they didn't necessarily perform good in international as well. But I mean, it sucks for the region because I think it's going downhill. But yeah, there's not much you can do about it, and you just have to kind of accept it.
Yeah. No, cheers, Nisqy. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.